Welcome to the Big Meat Kickoff. I am your host, Kevin Noon, at an undisclosed location in Orlando, Florida, here on May 10th. It is Saturday. It is a day of rest as Southern Swing is closing in on day 13, I guess it is, because technically we traveled on a Sunday to get into position to start in Virginia. So, been on the road for a while. We are rounding the corner into the final week. It probably won't be a full week. It just kind of depends on how quickly we are able to get the last set of interviews that we have, hitting a couple more states, a lot of travel coming up, a lot of car time. So, looking forward to today being a pretty relaxed day. Tomorrow will be a long drive to get in position for Monday and then the sprint to the end. I hope you've been enjoying our Southern Swing coverage. I know that I've enjoyed as well as Mark, providing this type of content to our members. Hello to you as well, Robert Howard. Hope you are doing well. Again, a bit of an impromptu show. Went to dinner last night at Florida Buckeye's house, and he is a member here not only through the YouTube channel, but also over at Buckeye Huddle. And he had a lot of nice things to say about the show. And when somebody tells you that you're doing a great job with the show, you are emboldened to do another show. And I'd been talking about maybe doing a show this weekend. And here we are. Again, I was thinking even about doing the show a little bit later, but I wasn't exactly sure what our day was going to look like. Mika Hanna, hey, Kevin, always appreciate the info. Love you guys. Love you too, Mika. Hope you're doing well. Here we are. It may be a shortish show. Mark has run out to pick up some fast food to bring back to the hotel, so I don't necessarily want my food getting cold. So when he gets back, that'll probably be the indicator that it is time to call it a wrap. I will probably do at least one more show from the road and then try to get into a regular schedule once I get home. I don't have a lot of traveling left on my calendar until Big Ten Media Days. Chris W., some of the best coverage on the beat. Appreciate how much you guys grind. Thank you, Chris. Really do enjoy doing all this. It is a lot being away from home, sucks, but it's technically a slow time in the calendar. And, we could either not have content and people who are members of Buckeye Huddle will be like, well, what the hell am I here for? Or, we can sit there and go out and grind, as Chris W. puts, and everybody and actually grow during this point. Remember, here in June, we will get to Ohio. Is it June? I don't even remember. I slept pretty well. I mean, I actually slept like a log. I mean, I was so tired. Yeah, it is June. Our Ohio State camp. So we'll have some more coverage there. Obviously, we have a big decision coming up with an out-of-state player on Monday. Keep an eye over at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, as well as BuckeyeHuddle.com for all the coverage there. Robert Howard, agree, Chris. No other outlet comes close, in my opinion. Mika Hanna agrees. Chris W. agrees with the agreement. So, we go through there. Robert Howard, they don't say things for clicks. They give facts and share their opinions based on those facts. I think my show is a little bit different than the rest of the shows on the channel because, well, first of all, I'm the only one who does a solo show. And I was joking with Florida Buckeye, saying that, initially it just was a matter of I just didn't have time to get guests for the first couple of shows, but I was going to get guests. I just prefer doing a show without guests. Now, that doesn't mean, like, if you see me with a guest, that doesn't mean like, oh, Noon's pissed. He's having to share the spotlight with somebody. It's just easier. But the point that I wanted to make is I just kind of talk off the top of my head, but I'm not going to say things that are just for the sake of sensationalism. Now, you get me started on the team up north or whatever, and I may drop some fun things in there or whatever, but I'm certainly not going to say things just to generate clicks. And our channel on YouTube certainly has, shown that works, as we are closing in on 27,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel and you're watching this, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, hit the bell. Maybe the bell system works. Sometimes it doesn't. I know that with a show on such short notice, not sure if everybody was able to get an alert that I was going on the air, but it all helps us for sure. Brian DeGroff saying, good afternoon, ladies, gents, and Kevin. Hello, Brian. Hope you are doing well. Chris W. Exactly, Robert. They generate relevant stuff. They don't make up nonsense for clicks and views, and we all know who we are talking about. Exactly. And I'm not going to sit here and get into any sort of site war type of situation. I'm busy this week. I mean, I still have another week of Southern Swing, and I don't have to sit there and watch my six to see what's being said about me. I'm not saying that I'm going to necessarily, go full, full napalm when I get home or anything like that. It's just generally not my style. It's weird. I hate confrontation, but I always seem to find myself in confrontation. So I don't get that. Brandon, you believe Tyler Atkinson saying OSU leads would be a great get from Georgia Von Bell type of get? All right, we'll go into that one. Tyler made a point to say that Ohio State led. We did not try to pry it out of him. A lot of times in an interview, you can get, especially a younger subject, teenager, you can get them to follow along. Tyler did a really good job of not giving too much information, but he seemed to be agenda driven, that he wanted to say that Ohio State led. Now, Tyler's not a game player, so Tyler was not saying that for our benefit. He was not saying that to either appease us or troll us or anything like that. It was something that he said largely unsolicited. So does that mean that I have him in the class? No, not yet. What will the last month of his recruitment look like? Even if he's committed to Ohio State, to Georgia, to whoever, that one ain't over until it's over. And that's just the life of an elite prospect, especially an elite prospect who lives in SEC land, because we certainly do see NIL dollars higher once you get some of those schools in, and then you create a bidding war. And Ohio State is never going to win a bidding war, in my opinion. That's just not who Ohio State is. Now, could that change in the future? I mean, I guess. But Ohio State has made it pretty clear that Ohio State only, its main focus is you play well, you do well, and you will be rewarded. Ohio State has put a lot of its money in team retention, player retention, bringing back Caleb Downs, bringing back Jeremiah Smith. I mean, even though we're talking about two players that were not draft eligible, but, rewarding players that are getting it done on the field versus paying $2 million a year to an offensive line prospect who hasn't played a down of college football. And that, in my opinion, is the spirit of what NIL is supposed to be, what Ohio State is doing, not what the other situation is. It was never supposed to be pay for play. And now when I want to get to Chris W.'s question, because I think that kind of takes where I wanted to go. Any chance Tyler was saying that for NIL bargaining purposes? A really good video for us in terms of recruiting is going to do about 6,000 views. We've had videos go well over 25,000 views. So don't get me wrong. I don't think we are the medium that he is going to use to try and throw a lot of stuff out. Now, I understand that what he said to us will get to Ohio State, we'll get to Georgia, we'll get to everybody, because you only have certain avenues that you can talk to these players, and what a player tells us versus telling, and now of course the AC kicks on. I kept trying to turn it up, versus what he tells to a team could be wildly different. So I don't think it's an NIL play. I don't think it's anything along those lines. I think it's just how he feels at this point. But it's not over, because you know what? If he wanted it to be over, it would be over. All he has to do is say, I commit to Ohio State, and it's shut down, and I'm not going to field calls from anybody else but Ohio State. And that happens. We talked to up in Jacksonville at the Bowl School. We talked to Corbin Fordham. We talked to Simeon Caldwell. They're both shut down. They're done. They're done. There's no waffling. There's no, well, I'm going to go take a couple more visits. They're done. Now, Tyler Atkinson is a 5-star. I mean, both these guys that I'm talking about from the Bowl School are 4 stars. There going to be differences. I mean, I certainly have talked to kids who have said, oh, I'm done. But they're also 16, 17-year-old kids, and they don't want to be, disrespectful and tell, coaches to cram it. So they do answer the phone and stuff. Stuff gets wild at that point. But at the point right now of where Tyler Atkinson is, I mean, I think Ohio State has the best shot of anybody of landing him, but Ohio State doesn't have a 51% shot while the field has a 49% shot. There are multiple schools involved. While I might give Ohio State the highest percentage, if I'm going to sit there and total up all the other schools that consist of the field would still be the smart bet. So, we'll see. We'll see. Let me kind of get through here and see where we are. Mika said most of the time her notifications don't work. Again, I need to be better about it. I do put stuff on social media. I did tweet that this was coming out over on my Twitter account, Kevin_Noon. Be sure to follow me there on Twitter. I'm only on Twitter. I'm not, or X or whatever. I'm not on any of the other similar platforms. So I'm not on Blue Sky or Mastodon or any of those other ones. Robert Howard, no need, Kevin. You guys are bigger than that. You don't need to entertain nonsensical drama. No, but again, there are times that I am a little feisty, and I do need to find a villain. Robert also said that his notifications don't work. So, again, you just kind of keep an eye out or whatever, but subscribing, all of that certainly helps. It helps you know when we're doing things. It helps us, because the way that the system works, the more people who are subscribed to the channel, as I said, we're just shy of 27,000. So we're going to, everything's going to get out to those 27,000 subscribers. But additionally, the more subscribers you have, the more reach you get with non-subscribers. And then it's constantly a battle of trying to get non-subscribers to sign up. And then you get from 27,000 to 30,000 to 50,000. And then before you know it, you're Mr. Beast. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if we had shows that were doing 50 million, 100 million views? Might be able to afford a haircut if that were the case. Mika says, love Tyler Atkinson, generational must get with Sincere Johnson, LBU. And I think things are looking really good with Sincere Johnson. He released a cut down list with Ohio State in it. Honestly, my feeling there is his list is one. He can have other schools listed on there. He's going to Ohio State, in my opinion. And, hashtag spoiler alert. He hasn't committed to Ohio State, to my knowledge, privately or whatever. Glenville kids ain't generally getting away. Now, before Glenville had kind of dried up for a while, yeah, you had like Andre Walker and guys like that who did kind of get away. But that was very rare. I think that with Sincere Johnson, he can sit there and look at Arvell Reese as a pattern of what his career could potentially look like. Now, Sincere Johnson has to work as hard as Arvell Reese did. I'm sure Arvell Reese was probably a little disappointed that he didn't get on the field sooner. But you look at what Ohio State had ahead of him, and it kind of is what it is. And, of course, now Arvell Reese has national championship rings and all that good stuff, and is going to put together some tremendous tape this year and be draft eligible. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to leave after this season, but I think the Glenville pipeline is in good shape. Brian DeGroff, do you believe Texas legitimately dropped 40 mil? Yes. Smoke them if you got them. If you got the money, you're going to do it. I mean, Texas was very active in the portal. I think any defensive tackle, Hero Canoe included, certainly secured a nice deal. And I don't know any of the details of what Hero Canoes was versus any of the other guys. But I think that there certainly was, a good amount of money spread around, because there are going to be people, rightly or wrongly, who are like, well, Ohio State spent $20 million on their team. So they're, obviously that's the path, is spending money. And there are a lot of very wealthy alum of the University of Texas, and people that never went to the University of Texas who are in Texas, who, that is still the team they identify with. And there's a lot of, oil money out there, among other things. And Texas A&M and Texas, are not going to go without in terms of financial support. It just is what it is. So, the report came out, $35-40 million on the roster. I don't have any reason to doubt it. I mean, there certainly are reports that come out. I'm like, well, that's BS. There's just no way that that's true. This is entirely plausible. It's entirely plausible. I haven't seen receipts, so I can't confirm it. I'm sure a lot of you have watched Mythbusters, and there was, busted, plausible, and confirmed. This has to be plausible, because nobody over there, John Bianco, the sports information director over there, isn't going to invite me to visit and go look at the books. So I'm never going to know for sure. I don't think anybody over there in an official capacity is going to confirm it, but it's absolutely plausible. So I don't have any reason to doubt it. Mika Hanna, national champions, we building a dynasty unlike any ever seen before. I mean, when, where is Ohio State? When is it going to run into a big hurdle in terms of not having a roster? I mean, obviously, going from the 24 season to the 25 season, Ohio State lost a lot. Yet, there are a lot of people that feel that Ohio State is among one of the top 1 to 3 favorites to win the title this year. So when you lose that much veteran presence on your team and reload with what is a younger team, you're probably not going to lose as much the following year or the year after that. I still think that we are kind of in the world of where COVID created a little bit of a bubble. We're not going to be able to say that anymore. We're going 5 years out from COVID now. But Ohio State, I mean, short of a complete overhaul of everything, and I mean overhaul in a bad way, not in a good way, is going to just keep building. So it's going to be on everybody else to catch up to Ohio State. Another one from Brandon. If the pressure hasn't been turned up by Georgia on him, then it will be now. Long way to December. Yeah, but the thing is that Georgia has had plenty of time. This isn't a fringe kid that, I've always said in terms of in-state, Ohio State cannot offer an in-state kid unless it is absolutely sure that it wants to take the kid. Because what happens if the kid says, I'm in? Insert the Rick and Morty GIF file or whatever. Son of a bitch, I'm in. If the kid says I'm in, you can't sit there and it's like, we were just kidding. Georgia can't sit there and do that. Collins Hill High School, or is that where Deuce goes? That's where Deuce goes. No, but I mean where Atkinson goes, Grayson, it's you know who he is. He is who he is. You've known it since he was a rising freshman. So the pressure's already been there. Now, the only way that pressure maybe goes up is the bag, is the NIL, but Georgia is similar to Ohio State, in my opinion, in terms of not being the highest bidder. Georgia and Ohio State don't have to be the highest bidder. Now, are you going to miss out on kids because of that? Sure. But once you start doing that, that's who you are. That's who you are. You can't walk it back. Why is it that you offered kid X this amount of money and you're offering me that amount of money? That doesn't fly. So I don't I think certainly with it being the in-state school and everything else, and what Georgia has been defensively under Kirby Smart, they are very much a serious challenger. But they are competing against Ohio State on a similar level, only with Georgia holding an advantage in terms of geography. I think there are other schools that know that they cannot compete with Ohio State and Georgia in terms of production and success and everything else, that are going to have to win it with Benjamins. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's just go through there. Oops, I scrolled through. Brandon's asking Pat McAfee winning tonight. I don't know if I'm going to get to watch. I guess I could watch it on my iPad or my computer. I mean, I certainly have Peacock, but I certainly don't have it on the room TV. A lot of hotel rooms, you do get Netflix and I think maybe Amazon Prime. I mean, if you have your own account, they don't give it to you for free. I have a major dose of Pat McAfee fatigue. And I always hate it. Let's go back to WCW days. And I don't want to make this into a whole wrestling show and watch the numbers dwindle. But when they made David Arquette the heavyweight champion in conjunction with that wrestling movie that came out, that was all WCW based with David Arquette in it and Patton Oswalt. I just don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like it. I understand it's sports entertainment. Kevin, it's not real. Don't get all worked up about this. It's not real. It's scripted. Yes. Thank you. I know. But I think it cheapens a lot of things. Okay, Gunter, we're going to sit there and we're going to take the belt off of you, and then we're going to have you lose to some jabroni. You're going to have no push whatsoever. You are going to be Santino Marella at this point. You're going to be comedy relief. You're just going to be a joker. The only way that I could see McAfee winning and me not being irate about it would be a dirty finish. Would be something else comes out there so you don't weaken his opponent. And okay, you give McAfee the win for whatever the hell that's worth. Nothing. I don't know what the stroke is there. But you don't weaken your guy. So that's my view. I would be very shocked if I get to watch any of it tonight. And again, it's more of a case of not like we're going to go, hang out at Disney World or anything like that. That's ridiculously expensive. And I just can't imagine just two dudes going and walk around Disney World on top of that. But got some stuff to get done and everything else. So I probably won't watch. So I'll read the dirt sheets afterward and see kind of what happened. And if I find out it's a really good show, when I get home, I can go and watch it on Peacock. Let's just keep going through here. Robert, is it true if Georgia signs Cantwell, they will likely be out of Atkinson due to NIL limits? What are the NIL limits? The amount of money that they have to give? Crunch all you want. We'll make more. They'll just get more money. I know that there was the talk of that, teams are going to sit there and there's going to be, $22 million for teams and everything else. Well, that hasn't passed yet. Those guardrails aren't in place. And honestly, I think you can still go above 22. I think what it is that everybody will have to bring 22 million for roster construction, to the table, but you can go over it. So I don't think that there's any reason that Cantwell, remember they've just picked up Jared Curtis as well, the quarterback. I don't think it takes them out on Atkinson. Obviously everybody needs to bring in big tackles. So that's where, that's a priority. Everybody needs to bring in quarterbacks. Maybe a linebacker is not as high of a priority in the hierarchy of positions. You look at the NFL draft, linebackers generally are not going to go number one on the board. That's going to be a quarterback or a left tackle or something like that. But no, you just pass the hat again. Brandon says that he doesn't believe that Hero can get NIL money being on a V. So there may be something to that. I didn't think about that, of how that works. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate on it because I don't understand that rule well enough, but that is a good enough point that I will take pause and say, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know on that one. Robert says, I'm sure they found a way to pay a hero. Not going to insinuate anything. That's it. Not going to insinuate anything for sure. Ryan Dawes, hey Kev, I hope you're doing well, Ryan Dawes. We're going to speed up a little bit if I'm missing it. We're not too terribly far behind, but as I said, once the food gets delivered, that's going to be kind of it for the show. I do not like cold Chick-fil-A. Let's just keep going through here. Odysseus. Nobody is stringing together several consecutive number one classes. I mean, again, it's your top programs, and there's always going to be some biases in terms of the rankings. If you construct your class largely or entirely of Southern players, you're probably going to have a higher bump than Ohio State that's going to have more Northern players. There certainly seems to be a bias in some instances against Northern players. I think that if you took a player from Indiana and you put him in Mississippi, I think you could see a half-star difference. And no, we don't see half stars given, but you know what I'm kind of saying. If a kid is a high 3 and you give him a half-star bump, he's a low 4. And so you're always going to run into some stuff there, but you're not really going to see a team suddenly become super relevant in recruiting without some sort of seismic change. Colorado hiring Deion Sanders. North Carolina hiring the 24-year-old woman. Oh, and Bill Belichick. I mean, I think there are ways that you could sit there and see artificial stimulus added to the equation that changes how things work to a certain extent. Minnesota isn't going to have a top 10 recruiting class anytime soon. Vanderbilt is not going to have a top 10 recruiting class anytime soon. It's going to be Ohio State. It's going to be Texas. It's going to be Alabama. It's going to be Georgia. It's going to be LSU. Penn State could maybe be there some years, maybe not others, because they're just wildly inconsistent in their recruiting. But you're not. I mean, SC's. I should have mentioned SC running away with it right now, but that's because SC has 27 commits. What happens when 6 of them decommit and everybody else gets up from being at 15, 16, 17 kids to 25? I don't see any way that SC holds and wins the national recruiting title. I just don't. We saw it last year. Last year, SC had all these defensive linemen out of Georgia and the Deep South, and they all went elsewhere. Now, of course, SC did sign Jakeem Stewart, a player that Ohio State really wanted. It happens or whatever, but I don't see that happening. I've seen Ohio State sit at number 1 going into August and finishes at 3. It's just really hard to do that. And one other thing, and I'm not here trying to throw shade at recruiting rankers, rankers versus reporters. Mark is a reporter on it. Rankers are the ones that actually put the star ratings out there. I think committed kids sometimes get boned in terms of their rankings because they've been committed, especially longtime committed kids. Well, he's been committed since March, and he slides down, not necessarily from this conscious effort to do that, but it just happens. So I don't know. Let's just keep on here. Odysseus, Tom Moore versus Pat McAfee. Who wins and who is the heel? I think the heel is going to be Tom Moore, and here's why. McAfee is a wider known personality, and people seem to like him for some reason. I don't dislike the guy. I'd have a beer with him. He's exhausting to watch on TV, to watch on the internet. Again, McAfee, not Orr. Orr's exhausting to watch too. Kidding. McAfee also runs around in tank tops a lot more than Tom does. While I think Tom would go in with a plan, I don't think that he could take McAfee. Now, if Tom could bring, Jake Paul with him or something like that, things may be a little bit different. Let's just keep scrolling as we're kind of getting here toward the end of my half hour. Did any conversations with recruits off camera change your opinion on a recruit? I.e., his head's on straight, he has a good understanding of the process. I think every kid that we've talked to has been very solid. I mean, because here's the thing, we are talking to kids that Ohio State is already recruiting. We're not necessarily going out and it's like, well, that kid looks good. Let's go talk to him. Have you heard from Ohio State? Nope, never. I mean, we're talking to ones that Ohio State have already vetted. There's already been a process that has gone through in terms of Ohio State has done its due diligence on these players and knows largely that they are, good kids. Now, we do have conversations off camera and a lot of stuff off camera. I try to keep off air because it's, hey, camera's off. We can speak freely right now. This is just between us. So I'm always trying to dance a line of where I want to bring as much information to you as I can, but I'm never going to breach the confidence of a player. Now, I can say 1,000%, no uncommitted player that we've talked to has told us off camera that they're committed. So I'm not hiding anything like that. But, they're just things that we're going to talk about a little bit that for whatever reason, they just, are not going to say on camera. But, I think they're all been really, really good kids. I mean, I was surprised when Tyler Atkinson said on camera that Ohio State led. I didn't see that one coming. I think that there have been some players that I have talked to, off camera along with Mark, and I walk away thinking, I think Ohio State's in better shape than people are giving credit for. I certainly have talked to some players I didn't know much about up in Virginia, talking to Amir Brown. I think he was in Virginia. The running back, the 27 running back, I really like him. I've really become a fan of his. So, and you find that happens sometimes. You do these recruiting shows or you do these recruiting tours, and then you suddenly become a fan of a kid, and you're just, we can't go out there and necessarily root. We're never going to recruit for Ohio State. That's not our job. That's unethical. Just can't do it. I can't say that I haven't seen others in other markets do that, because I have. But that doesn't mean that we're going to do it to try and put a thumb on the scale to even stuff out. But I think that there's just I think that there's just a lot of good kids out there, and I'm really impressed, and I'm going to be very curious about some of the next players that we're going to be talking to. I think it's a really good time. If you're not a member of Buckeye Huddle, why the hell not? Southern Swing, one more week. We're getting ready for Ohio State camps. Oh, by the way, we have a new writer. His name is Berm. Oh, yeah, you know who he is. So you better get on board over at Buckeye Huddle. He's been posting a lot on the board, some great content in the state of Ohio while we've been on the road for the price of a crummy pizza, less than a crummy delivery pizza. And I'm not even talking about with the $5.95 delivery charge, and that doesn't go to anybody. That doesn't go to anybody but the store. And then a tip and everything else. I mean, hell, you could almost get 2 months of Buckeye Huddle. So check us out there. Ryan Dawes, thank you for the super chat. Favorite interview this year on the swing? Let me think on that one for a second. As we are across 33 minutes. Apparently, it must be a long line at Chick-fil-A, but I'm okay with that because I get to spend more time with you guys there. I really like Deuce Gerald's. I don't know if he was as funny as he normally is. Sometimes you run into the issue with being at getting a kid before practice or after practice. You're kind of in game mode. You're kind of focused on what it is you got to do. So, there have been times that we've gotten Deuce like before school or like at lunchtime or whatever, and you're not just minutes away from practice or just coming off of a really difficult practice. And I think we got Deuce after practice, if I remember right, now that I'm thinking about it. He hadn't done his running yet. So he did his interview with us, then he had to go out and run. He joked with us. He's like, Coach is going to be pissed if I don't run. So, I really like the Deuce interview, kind of running through states. I mean, as I said, I really liked Amir Brown. I think he is a super kid. I liked that one. I I thought both of the Jacksonville kids. I know we've got Corbin Fordham up already on the site. I don't think we have Simeon Caldwell up. I have uploaded all the videos, but we don't want to run them all at once. You sit there and you put everything out at once, and then what? I mean, so we're rationing them out a little bit. So over the weekend we should be good. PJ Dean was a great interview. PJ Dean was a really, really good interview. So I would put PJ Dean up there on the list as well. I didn't walk out of any of these and say, "Oh my God, that was a horrible interview." Darius Gray was a really good interview. Darius Gray, we got him. He was going to a training facility to do an additional training on top of what he does at his high school. We got him there. He was really good. I haven't walked out of an interview and said, "Wow, that was a nightmare." I mean, there's some kids that we've talked to, younger kids. It's their first interview. There's a player. We talked to a couple of 2028s at Chaminade Madonna. One of the interviews, you could tell he was nervous. But he still was good. So they've all been good. But PJ Dean, Deuce Geralds, Amir Brown, I think those are some of my favorite ones. Mika Hanna said PJ Dean, exactly, and also they're all great. Ryan Dawes, Corbin Fordham, and the Chris Tucker Ruby Road voice from Fifth Element. You're getting out of my depth a little bit there with that one. But as I said, we're between all the platforms that we're on right now, we stream on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. We're over 360 people. I want to give everybody a chance one more time. Hit the thumbs up. That's a YouTube thing. I don't know what you do on Twitch. On Facebook, it's send stars, or you can hit a thumbs up or do something over there as well. Show us how much you love us by doing that. Or you can do what Ryan Dawes did and send a super chat here. That always gets you to the top of the line. We're really, I know during the season is more of the season of super chats, but I appreciate it whenever we get one of those. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. Question about Berm. Will he be doing any podcasts or just stuff in writing? His main focus for us will be writing. We will periodically have him on podcasts. Now, he is still doing things with Austin Ward with 97.1 and 10 TV Plus. That is where most of his podcasting will be, but we do, as part of the agreement, we will have some Jeremy Birmingham on our channel. But as things stand at this point, he's not going to be a primary podcast voice of ours, but all of his written content will be at Buckeye Huddle. We're working to try and get you as much of him as we can. We just, there are certain things that we need to guardrails we need to stay within. So it's, again, I know I've been asked the question a lot in comments and I haven't answered it. It's because I don't fully have the answer. So it's just like, we talked about earlier in the show about clickbait and everything else. I don't try to answer questions I don't know how to answer. So hopefully that gets there. Ryan Dawes, your voice is too much James Earl Jones, Kevin. I doubt that. I'm congested. My sinuses are draining, so my voice may be a little bit weird. I'm not using any, I'm not using any microphones. I'm not using any live dongles or anything like that. I'm just using my computer at this point. So there shouldn't be anything in there really impacting my voice other than this sinus drip that I'm dealing with right now. But, it is what it is. You've been on the road 13 days and I think there've been a couple of times we've stayed in a hotel for 2 nights versus a new hotel every night, but you're in a different city like almost every day. A lot of time in the car. The rental car is a Chevy Malibu, and I've been kicking this damn thing's ass with the driving and everything else. Hey, there's Florida Buckeye. Yo, Kevin and Buckeye Faithful OH. I owe to you, Florida Buckeye. If you go back and watch the show, gave you your props off the top, but once again, had the chance to go to Florida Buckeye's house last night. Terrific brisket, terrific baked beans, terrific potato salad, and terrific company, Talking Ohio State. We were there till midnight. maybe even a little later. We were there all night. Got into the hotel, was exhausted. I didn't even turn on my computer last night, and that is rare. I didn't turn on my computer or my iPad. I just got to the room and I said, I'm going to sleep. I'm tired. And I didn't get out of bed. You wake up a couple times, and I drank a couple beers. So I got up a couple times to hit the head, but I don't think my feet hit the floor until about 10:30 this morning. And I've been busy trying to get some things uploaded into the system, but a great time. We have been promised steaks next year. So 360 some days before tomahawk ribeyes over at Florida Buckeyes house. Just a great opportunity. He has a great Buckeye setup out in his backyard, color matched paint with a scarlet door and gray trim. I got him the hexadecimal colors for Ohio State, so they're color matched. It is fantastic. So I would say check it out, but I don't know if he wants anybody snooping around his property. But we had a really good time. Kenneth says, "Hey Kevin, hey to you, Kenneth. Hope you're doing well." Kenneth here. So I've been getting 2021 recruiting class vibes from the 26 class. Any chance I'm correct? Could this class end up even better? Long way to go. There is a long way to go. I'm not being wishy-washy. I'm not being non-committal. I'm just saying that let me see who gets signed. And the thing is that there have been plenty of times that you bring in kids and it's like, oh, this is going to work out perfectly. And, it's the old 20 60 20 rule. 20% of your kids are going to like overachieve and be like superstars. 20% of your kids just aren't going to work out for whatever reason. It's what you do with that 60%. If you can maximize and turn the majority of that 60% into your top 20% and instead of letting them slide down to the bottom 20%. Ohio State has been a great development program for a long time. Again, you're just going to have some kids that are just not going to work out for whatever reason. And it's not a slight that the kid was a turd or just not athletic or whatever. It just, things don't happen. I'm not in the business of trashing kids, even ones that like leave the program, but I could go through 30, 40, 50 names off the top of my head of kids that just didn't work out. So, if you can sit there and you can maximize that 60%, the way that Ohio State's been, this could end up being a really tremendous class. And I think that one of the big things that this class is going to be remembered for is offensive line because of so many issues that Ohio State has had in terms of recruiting offensive line. Now you got to develop them. I think this is the year Ohio State could maybe hit its number on the defensive line. Ohio State has missed its D-line number for a couple of years. You have to go to the portal. And I'm not saying that having Bo Atkinson is a bad thing from the portal, but I am saying that you need to do better in hitting your numbers. And so I think this could be a really good class, Kenneth. Let me say, I can't remember if someone good was in the 21 class and then some crazy ass emoji that I don't even know what that is. Looks like a heart bikini and teeth. I don't know. But Mika Hanna says Champ Smith. I really like where Ohio State stands with Champ Smith. I really think that there is a good shot of landing that one. But, we'll see. We'll see. And, again, we have all of these stories. We have all the videos at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Not all of them are posted yet. So if you go and you're like, you said that so-and-so was there, I want to see the Simeon Caldwell interviews. Hang tight. That'll probably be posted today. It just hasn't been posted yet. We want to spread them out. There's something defeating the algorithm about not completely just putting 20 stories up at once. But we got a lot of content coming up. We will also have at the end of the weekend our Florida recap. I think we interviewed like 10 kids in Florida. We will have that all set up as well. Maybe we'll get a skull session on the website from Mark. That's behind the paywall though, so you got to be a member of YouTube or of BuckeyeHuddle.com to be able to read that. So that's where we stand. We are just shy of 45 minutes, so I'm going to say my goodbyes. Again, I would like to go hit the pool, but I don't want to travel around with wet swim trunks, so I probably won't. But I want to thank everybody for joining me on this impromptu show. It means a lot for me that we were able to draw such big numbers on a show that I gave you all 20 minutes lead time on. I'm looking forward to my Chick-fil-A and relaxing a little bit and then off to the next destination on Sunday and, Monday morning I'm sure we will post where we are at. And again, I will try to do one more of these shows before we're off the road, and then get back on a more regular schedule for these shows once I'm back in Columbus. But one last post that I want to put there, I agree with Brian DeGroff. Hit that like button, really helps us out. It really, really helps us out with our distribution. Subscribing to the channel helps. Hitting the like button helps. All of that helps us. So please do that. But until then, until the next show, I want everybody to have a great day. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Have some fun. Relax. And I'll see you the next time here on the Big Me Kickoff.